Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Neighbors to Know. I am Jen Palloy, your host. I was very nervous about doing, or I guess I still am a little bit nervous about doing today's episode, because when I started this show 2 years ago, I made like a master list of like top 10 people in my town that I wanted to make sure that I had on to interview. And our guest today was one of those people, and I'm like, I don't know what to ask. He's like, you know, like Oz. He's like all the way up here, and I don't know what I could say that would be worthy enough to get the point across to you as to who he is. So anyway, so I was feeling a little disempowered, I guess, which is not normally me. And I go on my Alexa and I said, Alexa, play some motivating music. And then who pops on but Taylor Swift? So if you watch Bedford TV news at all, you'll know that Dan Broskell, who's also a fantastic neighbor to know, Dan Broskell's a very large fan of Taylor Swift. I personally, not so much. No offense to Taylor Swift. But I listened to her and I'm like, this is hysterical because our neighbor is very good friends with Dan Broskell, and that actually after our show is heading over to do a podcast with him. So I'm like, this is just perfect that Taylor Swift is coming on and telling me to just shake it off, shake it off, shake it off, and well, here I am. So it all came together, and I am just truly blessed today to share with you a neighbor who lives in Lexington but is such a huge person in Bedford with all that he's given back to kids and families in so many different ways, Dr. David Geller.
Well, thank you. That's a crazy intro.
Isn't that crazy?
I wonder if people are wondering who's going to appear after that, you know.
It's the great and powerful.
But I'm really honored to be here, and I'm really considered to be even closer, if not in your top 10 of people that you would have on the show. So thank you very much.
Yeah, I mean, you've been, so you're a pediatrician here in Bedford. Yeah. And when I moved here 10 years ago, it's like, you're starting a life in a new town, not knowing anyone. And I don't even know if I did research on you at all. I just heard, where's a good place to go to, and ended up there. And I think the nervousness comes out of you've been just such a large part of teaching me and continually, teaching me what it's like to be a parent. There's no freaking instruction manual. what do you do? And when I moved here, my kids weren't like infants anymore. And I think that as kids get older, their problems just change. They're not better or worse or harder or easier. And you just, you're just like that person on the shoulder that you can always ask for anything in every way. And that's why I felt like I was nervous, because you've given so much to me and to my boys. And I'm like, what can I give back to him? A platform to just, here's Dave Geller, come meet him.
That's huge, and my head is not getting bigger. It's interesting when you say that, because I've gotten so much from people like yourself, from the families that I see, the kids that I see, the people that I work with. It's this. I tell people it's this symbiosis. It's this mutual respect. It's this two-way street, and I'm still learning. I'm learning a lot from people that I see. It's a great job, and just you saying that to me means the world to me. I really think the connections that we make in the office are just unfathomable and amazing, and I just thank you very much. It's funny because I think when I do my training, and you come out of training as a doctor, and you have a pediatrician, and you think that you know stuff, and you don't. And I really believe that the learning curve for pediatrics is so steep, and you learn quickly on the job. And also being a parent has been extremely helpful for what I do. But I thank you very much for those great words.
I have more from other people around Bedford, but we'll hold on to this little gem until later. That way your cheeks can get all pink, and it'll just be a great way to to end things. But you're just such a staple in town.
I appreciate that. It's a great community. It's a great community. When I came out of my residency, I was looking for a job, and I had 3 criteria. One was to be still affiliated with a teaching hospital, like Children's Hospital, Mass General Hospital. 2 was to work, in a nice practice, and 3 to be part of the community and be in a nice community. And being in this community has been amazing. My wife and I are both from Auburn, Maine. And so we grew up in a small town, and it just that type of environment was great for us. And it was really great to find an area like this and land here. And I honestly feel like this is my home. I mean, you have 2 homes, right? Where you grew up maybe and where you live now. And I feel as part of this community as I did, as one I grew up in. So I really love being here.
So what brought you two down from Maine, down to here?
So just for fun, Jen and I met in 9th grade. And,
I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's when
All right, pull up a mug. Here we go.
Yeah, so I met her in 9th grade, and that's when I was enraptured by her. And my 4-year plan worked out, so we started dating senior year in high school, just for kicks, for everybody to know. And then I went to school. I went to Brandeis. Jen went to Springfield College, and then we stayed together during that time. And then we re-met again in Boston when I did I went to med school at BU, Boston University, and my residency at Mass General for pediatrics. And then I just looked for a job. And I think Jen thought more about where she wanted to be in terms of a nice community. And we ended up in Lexington, and that's where I got. I've been in this area practicing since 1996. That's that quick story.
That's a commitment. Yeah.
Yeah, it's good. It's great. We've raised. We have 3 girls, and we've raised them here, and been really happy with things. So yeah, no, it's I consider this the place where I want to be for a long time.
So I'm curious, several doctors go into different fields for whatever their reasons are, like I want to cut people open, I'm going to be a surgeon, whatever. What was it about pediatrics that drew you into that? I mean, I see, obviously every area has significant importance for things. Yeah. Like me as a mom, and not having that how-to manual of like, I don't know what to do, who do you call? Pediatricians, you're starting off and you're teaching parents how to be parents. And you're starting off the life of human beings and family structures. So I feel like there's something that led you to want to start life that way.
I'll answer your question second, but what you just said I think is really meaningful. It's so neat. It's so, and I'll use the word honor. It's an honor to be in the room with families, sharing with them their journey, whether it's once a year or more often for different reasons, for sick visits or just to check in for various reasons. In medicine is a great, especially pediatrics is a great field, and people often will ask a doctor, especially as medicine changes over time, would you do it again? And I would do it again in a second, because I think it's the greatest job. You are able to be, again, interact with in different scenarios that you would never get to if you had a different job. And I just love being involved, and again, being welcomed into families, to take care of them and to be part of their team. But yeah, I think what drives me is the interaction. Is this, I love the social piece.
My kids aren't here. That would be a whole other show. No. That actually would be a really cool show as a part 2.
We could do that. No, I'm already coming back. That was great.
True,
it was like 10 minutes.
We already created a part 2.
I just really,
part 1.
I just really thrive on the interactions. I did pretty well in school, hopefully, and I just felt, if I could apply my abilities in the best way, I think medicine was what I wanted to do. I wasn't carving the turkey on Thanksgiving saying this is what I want to do, and I can't. Certain things don't turn me away, but I don't mind being involved in various things that may be a little bit scary or maybe frightening to certain people in terms of blood or whatnot. But I really think what drew me to pediatrics, like if I didn't do this, I would do something else that I was involved with people, maybe being a teacher. Maybe being in law enforcement, honestly. I just really need those social interactions. And I think that being a doctor, I get that, being a pediatrician, and I am able to, again, apply my abilities at the highest level. But growing up, some people know, I don't know if you know, but my father was a rabbi.
And, I didn't know that.
Yeah, and I just really enjoyed seeing how he interacted with people. He treated everybody with respect, and he treated everybody as an equal. And if you needed the time, he made it for you. And he was there for people in so many different ways, in different parts of their lives, different life's transitions. And I was able to accompany him and be with him in many ways as he did those things. And I just enjoyed those interactions, whether they were with young kids or with older congregants. I was the one at services, after services, when we had like a meal afterward, I would be the one at a table with like 20 kids around me. And we were just talking and hanging out, schmoozing, as you may say. Mm-hmm. And I just really enjoyed interacting with kids. I also really enjoy interacting with adults. And that's where pediatrics fulfills me more, is because I get the kids, I get the adolescents, I get the young adults, I get the parents. And I really enjoyed that. So that's what kind of drove me here. I just really, I think if I practiced medicine and I didn't interact with the patients, it wouldn't work for me.
Mm-hmm. Well, and you mentioned about like your father always giving time, however, like making time. And I know from my experience from being in your office, you're not sitting there waiting half an hour for, to get in. If something's going on, like you make a phone call, your staff is phenomenal.
Thanks.
They really are. Like they're happy to be there. As far as I see, they're happy to be there. They're always kind. I've never had an experience where I've left, and I'm just saying this to be truthful. I'm not saying this to brown nose or anything, because you're here. But truly, where you leave and you feel like everything that every part of the experience of going there, you feel like you're complete when you left. If you have any questions, you can like turn right back around and be like, but wait, and they'll make sure to have it taken care of.
Yeah, I think that's just huge to hear. I know, I think it's as important to enjoy what you do, but also to enjoy who you do it with. Mm-hmm. And again, that's the families and the kids and the staff that I work with, who we've been together for a long time, most of us, and everybody's really in it to win it. I hope, and I think the staff hopes, that every experience that someone has in our office is a positive one, and I want people to walk out with at least what they came in for, if not more. Yeah. Sometimes when I see someone for a sick visit or a physical, and hopefully there's lots of laughing in the room at times. I tell parents I hope it's worth the price of the copay, because I think a doctor's visit should be more than just going to see your doctor. I think that some people need 5 minutes, some people need 35 minutes, and we try to give people what they need, and we also really want to be accessible. I mean, this day and age, everybody's so busy. Whether it's by phone call or by email or by the patient portal that people use. Some people, I'm not sure about yourself, have my cell phone. I'm in the phone book in Lexington.
I'm trying to think, do I have your cell phone? Because that's handy to have.
Yeah, I know my
son does.
Yeah. You have to be very careful with the confidentiality and whatnot, right. But I just want to be accessible, and people can reach out to me. And when I moved to town, I didn't think twice about not being in the phone book. And some people don't even practice in the towns, live in the towns that they practice. They enjoy their patients, but they don't want to be too close. Mm-hmm. And again, growing up in a small town in Maine, and with what my father did, who had the phone next to his bed when someone needed him, it rang. They reached out all times of day and night. That's just how I pattern myself. That's what I'm used to. And not that people need to call me at 2 a.m, but I want people to know if they need to, they can reach me or at least someone in the office somehow. And I just really think that, I don't want to make more of our office than it is. Hopefully some people just come in once a year. I want them to know if when they come in that one time a year, or if they need us more often, that they can reach out to us. It means a lot to me when people do reach out to me. Sometimes in the office, I'll be talking to a parent about something, and they get a little emotional, and they apologize for that. Maybe some tears happen, and I will always say, it becomes trite maybe, but I'm just honored that they feel comfortable sharing and, being emotional with me, because that's a big deal. And again, I don't want to put more on what I do, but I just really, really enjoy doing it.
Well, there's an immense amount of trust. I mean, for confidentiality purposes, I'm not going to get into it with, my kids, but, I've faced a lot of things with my children. I'm like, I don't even know what to do. I don't know where to start. And yeah, I've come to you very much so in tears and just grasping at straws and how to help. So there's a huge trust factor. And, sometimes you're in there looking for help because you don't have trust in the first place, and to feel that comfort walking in, that you're literally putting, yes, you're putting your kids' lives out there, their lives are in your hands, but as a parent too, because, parenting is the toughest job and most important job, that you have to have that trust there.
And everybody says there's no manual on how to do it, right? There's a lot of self-help books out there, the internet. But and I say we, I'm a parent too, we don't know what we're doing, There's even pediatrics, again, there's so much that we learn initially, but that you learn on the job. I remember when my first daughter, Hannah, who's 22 now, was born. She was born early, and I was leaving Newton Wellesley Hospital with her on the third day, and my wife and I were walking out into the parking lot, and I said, I feel like I'm going to throw up. I do this in the office, I have no idea what to do right now.
Yeah.
I do, but I don't. And you go from the hospital, right, where they're watching you every minute,
yep.
They're checking you, you're waking you up, checking temperatures, and then they're like, bye. And then you come to our office, and I think that, again, I think it's a lot of trust there, and again, we appreciate that and value that. I mean, you're walking into these offices and you're looking for support and guidance, and a lot of stuff, we can help with. And I always say, if I don't know the answer, I'll find it, or I'll find someone to help someone out with. And I really appreciate, again, what you're sharing. It can be a very smooth, bumpy road, and I think that raising kids is awesome. Being a parent is awesome, but it's not always easy. No.
See the gray hairs right there?
Can't see in this light.
They stood out in this lighting. This is great lighting. But yeah, like I remember feeling that when I was, both of my children were born in New York. So I remember you go through the experience, oh, I'm pregnant, and like all the stuff that, whether it's positive or not positive or negative, I don't mean it that way. I mean, like not all pregnancies are as, peaches and cream is what you think they are.
Yeah.
I was on bed rest several times during my pregnancies. That was not like what was supposed to happen. Yeah. And then, okay, so now you go through labor and it's like, oh, I'm in labor. And then there's the baby. And and then I remember bringing my older son, Max, like literally putting him in the car to go home. And I'm like, well, now what do I do?
Exactly.
Because it's like a present that you get that I'm like, okay, what do you do with it now? Do you talk to it? It just seems kind of separated. And then, with my second son, who's, there was like 3.5 years in between them, and I appreciated the experience more knowing how really short all of that is in the grand scheme of things. I just completely lost my train of thought. But I guess I was, I sat back more with it, and there was a girl that I shared, she was young, that I shared the hospital room with, and she wanted to go home right away. And I'm like, but you're laying here, your baby's taken care of, they're giving you food, they're letting you sleep.
Oh, yeah.
Why would you want to leave early after having kids? It's like, please let them feed me and take care of me. And then I was ready to go home because I felt like I was taken care of in that transition. Yeah,
it's funny, just as a side note, you had a double room back then, right?
Yeah.
Interesting having two babies or new moms in the same room together. There wasn't a lot of sleep going on in that room.
No, I remember this woman next to me. Oh my gosh, my first time with Max, she was screaming in the room next door to me. And I was induced, so I'm just hanging out there waiting for the magic to happen. And I'm hearing her screaming as Lord knows, I imagine it's contractions that are going on.
You hope so.
But I'm like, I don't want that to be, is that what I'm gonna sound like in a couple hours? I mean, it was pretty close. I mean, my kids are 15 and 18, so things might have changed from
kind of like that in our office during our flu clinics, right? The other kids are coming in and they hear some of the kids in the other rooms
screaming,
not being happy. But what's interesting too about the your first child versus your second child, right? It's so brand new, and it's probably like skydiving, right? The first time you skydive, you're like, what just happened? And I've never skydived. I'm actually afraid of heights, just to mention that.
Oh, fun fact.
And the second, great fun fact. But the second skydive, you probably enjoy it more. You can actually sit back and enjoy it more, but there's still a lot that could go wrong, right? So you have to still. That's the thing with raising kids, right? It's not you're just one and done, right? There's a lot of stuff that could happen, and but no, it's an interesting process.
And then I feel like it flows backwards too, because then I realize, well, okay, I wish I was that more chill the first time through. You're a first-time parent. It just comes with the territory, And for me, it helped me see things that, okay, well now I can go back that I know this and handle things a little bit differently, just because I have the experience.
It's amazing as a parent how that plays in.
Yeah.
If I knew now what I knew then.
Oh, absolutely.
It's amazing. I can remember, remember for our first daughter too, how we doted on her so much, which is great, and how we took care of her so much. And really didn't let her explore as much. And I remember my wife reminds me of the story that she was sitting at the counter, I don't know, probably 4 years old, and my 2-year-old wanted some milk, and we would always hand her milk bottle whenever she wanted, a sippy cup, whenever she wanted it, we'd get it for her, And Jocelyn said, my middle one, I'm thirsty. She climbed down, walked over to the refrigerator, opened it up, climbed up 2 racks, grabbed the milk, and drank it. And Han looked at her and was like, what just happened? Because if the second one, you give them more ability to explore, and to maybe do things on their own. But.
Yeah. So rewinding a second for, you mentioned about your father, always making time for other people, I guess giving to his community in different ways. And you do the same, where you can call at any time to ask questions. You can check your emails to make sure that you're there in whatever way you can. And you're active in your communities, and you have this podcast, and you have all these things. And you look very chill and relaxed right now. And are going to head over to Lexington.
That's because of you. No.
But you have all these different things going on. And outside of pediatrics and all of that, a large part, I think, of what people handle is time. How am I able to do it all? You have 3 children, you have a wife, you guys, I don't know your children at all, but your relationship with your wife, you just speak glowingly of her. How do you balance all of that where you can be everything there, come home, be everything with your family? Because I certainly want to talk about your kids in just a minute. How do you balance that you can be there in all those ways, at the level that is in, your integrity of doing everything the way things should be doing, the way that, you feel is, like, for lack of a better word, the right way of doing things, so that you're in the moment and wherever you do, and still get sleep, and still eat meals. How do you do that?
Well, I'll throw it back onto you. I mean, you're very busy. I mean, you have 2 kids, and you have family, and you have many things that you do, and kudos to you for all that you do for the community.
Thank you.
It's how do we do it? Right, we just do it, and I think that some of us are wired that way, and some of us. I was actually talking to Jen this last week as we were preparing some different things in our lives, which we'll talk about, and I said, we're busy. We got the 2 girls in college. We have Madison, who's in 3rd grade. I got my work. She teaches yoga now. My wife, not Madison, my wife.
I know that because of this, but
and
I'll get to
she's
that.
a physical therapist by training.
Okay.
We're doing a lot, but I said, we actually kind of thrive on it. It's just how we're wired, and I think the busier that I am, that we are, Jen keeps saying, we're getting it done. We just get it done, and hopefully without anything slipping. Mm-hmm. So I have a great partner in crime, a great balance. I've got great kids. I got a great support from the community. I have some wonderful friends. I'll include you in that. I really have a wonderful community. This is a great community, Lexington, Bedford area. I just can't. I'm very active in the temple that I belong to, Temple Amuna, and the community there is amazing. And that's another thing that I do a lot. I'm there a lot as well. But also my office and the people that I work with. And I hesitate to say staff because they're my colleagues. I mean, whether it's from front desk to the nurse practitioners, my other physicians I work with, the nurses, they're just so amazing that we just work so well together that to me is actually not that life is stressful, that's like the least stressful part of my life. I mean, that I started this new office recently, and people were wondering how did you do that? It's gonna be so much work, to start a new office. It was probably one of the least stressful things I've ever done.
Really?
The office itself.
Because of the team that you had working with you?
Amazing. I mean, I am popping out of bed quicker now in the morning. I'm looking forward to getting to work a lot. I'm enjoying my all the time. It's a positive environment. It is so awesome that I'm not there right now. Right, we're talking here, and I know everything's running very smoothly. And Carissa Glavin, who I work with, one of our nurse practitioners, says, Dave, just tell us what we can do. And I know the patients are all taken care of extremely well. Again, the colleagues I have. 2 of the doctors working with me now, Dr. Perzanowski and Dr. Terry. And I just know that our patients are in amazing hands with Jen Monroe and Carissa and Tara Stevens and the docs and the front desk staff. So, yeah, I think you surround yourself by good people. Mm-hmm. And I'll say friends. And I consider a lot of my patients' families, parents, my friends, and I really value and acknowledge those things. And I just think that if you surround yourself by good people, things are easier. And my wife always jokes because we would have different parties once in a while through the house, and I'd be just inviting random people she thought, from the office, or somebody I saw on the street who I knew from the office, or a family, and I consider them our friends, So I really, like going back to what you said, I hope that people feel comfortable reaching out to me, and I've been amazed, like when I started practicing in the area, 20 years, 1996, how many years ago, 23 years ago, quickly I realized all the intangibles that came with doing this job, being a pediatrician, and hopefully doing it right, just the friendships I formed and the people that were there for you and the people that wanted to help you or support you, and just for being there for doing just what I did, what I thought I was supposed to do for my job. Like, I'm supposed to take care of kids. I'm supposed to take care of families. That's my job, and I love doing it, but I didn't realize how much people would appreciate that and invite me to the kids' birthday parties, or
a new one.
Yeah, send me a gift from the holidays. I mean, you might think that's standard, but like someone would give me a box of chocolates, for Christmas. Thank you, and people might invite me to a communion, and just people might offer me their services if they knew that they could help me out, like an electrician, So I just really, it blows me away, the community and the friendships that we formed, and I guess that's what makes it easy. Because if you enjoy what you do, and I'm telling, again, it might be trite, but I tell young adults in the office, if you enjoy what you do, it's not work, and it's easy to say that, and I think that it's important. Because that to me is the gains you get from a good profession. I mean, financially, hopefully you can support your family and do what you want to do. But if you're not happy, it doesn't matter.
So jumping out of bed in the morning, I mean, I think a lot of people want to have that where, like, let's start the new day.
It's crazy.
Yeah. And like, what's the magic to make that happen? And, I hear that your commitment to your communities, and I know you mentioned about giving back. I do, because I was going to hold on to this gem until later.
Yeah.
But since you're talking about it now,
Sure.
I want to completely make you blush. Because you mentioned about your wife, Jen, who I've never met before. I've seen pictures of her. And I was given permission to share this with you from someone who happens to work right here at Bedford TV, whose children are patients of yours. You can put the pieces together. She just moved here somewhat recently. And she said, Dr. Geller's our pediatrician, and the kids love him. But more than that, he's someone we can talk to about anything and go to for advice. Also, I happened to take a prenatal yoga class, and to my surprise, it was taught by Dr. Geller's wife, Jen. It's immediately apparent that the kind, gentle nature is a common thread in the Geller family.
Pause. Pause there. That's very nice. Thank you.
And that was subtle if you didn't figure that out.
Oh, I didn't actually. It's just that's crazy. It's just crazy, and if you get one of those in your lifetime, right, that people show how much they appreciate you in different ways, and it's meaningful, and that's nice. Thank you. Thank her. Yeah, that kind of sums it up, And I was actually at the Bedford Education Foundation's.
Oh, the bash.
Yeah, the bash on Saturday night, which was really fun, and just nice to see people that you work with in the community, know in the community, and just the connections that we've made. And I was walking out, someone grabbed me on the way out and said, "Oh, Dr. Geller, I'm so and so, and we're thinking about coming over to your office, and we'd like to, we just heard wonderful things," and it just was this nice, 3-minute interaction, which really made my night, and I'm not seeking those things, but it's just nice. I mean, this is nice, right? It's nice to, just to hopefully do good things and get good feedback. So that's really nice. Thank you.
I'll get back to the other ones, but since she was focusing on your wife, and I don't really know anything about your kids.
Jen's amazing. She's an amazing woman. She's been with me, for this long, and she's a great balance for me, and a great friend. She's a friend first and a wife second. She's helped me raise 3 great kids, and she's been a reason, I think, that they're who they are. So I have 2 older girls. Hannah is graduating from Skidmore College this year, education major, dance minor, and Jocelyn is an art major. She's a sophomore at Skidmore as well. So they went to the same college, which is really neat. And then there's Madison, who's 8 years old in 3rd grade. And Jen's been instrumental in being a great mom, and also being Dr. Geller's wife. So I actually enjoy now being. I've thought about when we're talking that why who I am, what I do, and three things define me. I feel is being a pediatrician, Dr. Geller. That's just who I am. Being Jen Geller's husband, and being Hannah and Madison and Jocelyn's dad. To me, that's what it's all about. And if you strip everything away, that's who I am. And I really appreciate, again, Jen being my partner in this.
So let's talk some more about your kids.
Yeah.
Because you're very committed, you said, to the organizations that have supported you and your family. So I guess we'll start there, because that will kind of lead into the story about Madison,
Yep.
Maddie. So what are the organizations that you're committed, that you work with? So
beyond just the local community organizations like the BEF and other groups, Jen and I are strong supporters of the Robert F. Kennedy Children Action Corps and the Wonderfund.
Can you explain more about what those
Yeah,
organizations
so
are about?
RFK, Children Action Corps, is a group that's been around for actually it was their 50-year anniversary last year. And they were founded, Robert F. Kennedy. They really work with the children, supporting children and families who are at risk due to their environment. So they work with kids who are in the juvenile system, kids who are in residential homes or DCF, and trying to give them a safe and happy and healthy environment. And the Wonderfund is another group locally that works with kids who are involved with DCF, the Department of Children and Families. And they help give kids who are in DCF custody a meaningful and hopefully as normal life as they can. Kids who have been witnessed trauma and violence and navigating the system of DCF, and they provide assistance to those kids. So the way we got involved with these two groups is, so Maddie's 8, so 6 years ago, Jen and I had a conversation of what could we do, what more could we do. Hannah and Jocelyn were older. They're still in the house, but they were older. We have a 4-bedroom house. We have 3 of those bedrooms being used. What can we do? There's got to be more that we could do. This is the truth. And so Jen and I had the conversation, and Jen said we should foster. This is in our kitchen, and I said okay, we'll do it. So our plan was to foster.
Is that quick of a conversation?
That was a conversation.
That's a life change,
That was a life change. So this is how Jen and I work, right?
Mm-hmm.
We just do things, right? We just Jen says, I want to become a yoga instructor. Okay, you take the training and do it. I'm going to start this office, Bedford Pediatrics. Okay, let's just do it. This is kind of. I think we'll divvy a Stop and Shop over getting the lowest priced cereal, but big decisions we just do like
just
that.
Go.
It's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
And it's
well, I hear it more of like you're so unified that you can make those decisions and trust that it's the right one for both of you.
It has worked well for us. It's funny in the office. There are some things that I would just say, yeah, this is what we're going to do, and some stuff I say, let me step back and think about this. Let me do a little research. Let me hold on 1 second. Let me check something out.
Mm-hmm.
Then we move on. And I think in your life you have to find. I'm sure you've done the same thing. You have to. There are some things you go with your gut, mm-hmm. and some things you say, okay, we got to think about this. So. We just said, let's do this. It was a process. So our plan was to foster siblings because we had the extra space. And a lot of times kids who are in the foster care system, siblings, they get split up. Mm-hmm. So we wanted to give them a stable, healthy environment together, and then we would hopefully transition them back to their biological home or a family home or a different home, an adoptive situation possibly.
Do you know why they do? I'm on a total side note.
Yeah.
Not really side note.
Yeah.
I recently found out that I have a cousin that lives in Boston or in the Boston area who is my cousin. I had no idea. Facebook, someone put a picture of my grandfather, and I'm German, so that's Opa. There's my Opa. I'm like, that's your Opa. That's my grandfather. Who are you? And it turns out she's my cousin. And similar story back in Germany where there was 4 siblings. Some of them were in, the foster care system, but not all of them went to the same place.
Yeah.
Why do they?
Because people can't take 2 kids sometimes. Or 3 kids, or it happens at different time frames. So that's a disservice to those children. unfortunately, but they also need to be in a safe environment. So
Right.
some people can't take more than one. It's not always that easy to do, having not only one new child, with issues in your home, but two. So yeah, our plan was to have offered to 2 or 3 or 4. I was even thinking crazy. We're adding an addition to the house so we can have more kids. I just love. I mean, if I had my druthers, I would in my office. I would just sit in the waiting room and play with kids and talk to kids all day long. I just really enjoy interacting with them. But being a parent it really revs me up too. And so our plan was to foster some children. So we got involved with Bright Futures. And Bright Futures is under the umbrella of the RFK Children Action Corps, and they're an adoption agency. So we had to do something called MAP training, which trains you how to foster, if not adopt, children. Okay. And that's like a month-long process. We actually would go to the site at Waltham Children's Hospital once a week on a Saturday for a long, extended period of time with other families who were planning on fostering or adopting. We were actually the only ones in that training program, which was amazing and a great educational experience, to be planning mainly just to foster. Most families were planning on fostering to adopt. So our plan was just to foster. Okay. So we did the training, it was great. And it was really helpful to me as a pediatrician to see the flip side of stuff. I've taken care of a lot of kids in the office who were in foster care or DCF custody, but I never really knew. I knew it from my side, but not the back side of the tapestry. So it was interesting to learn about that. And then I won't forget this either. So we were up in Maine for the week. I forget what month it was. I think it was August or September. And we were up in Maine. We have a small place in Maine. And we were there for the week. And this place in Maine is very small, but we're very lucky to have it. It's like 900 square feet. So we were in there for a week, and I was driving back to Lexington. And I was actually listening to a podcast it was a podcast about how to sustain people in like third world countries, poor people, and there's this whole discussion on how do you help someone who's maybe poor or in a lower socioeconomic class. Do you give them money? Do you give them a cow? That's one of the things. If you buy someone a cow, they can have the cow.
Yeah, that was actually episode 2 of the show.
Really?
Jim Petitpas, who
yes, I know
wrote
Jim. Yep.
Cows Go Moo.
Yeah.
Proceeds from his book sales go towards Heifer International, which does.
And
that.
there was a whole discussion on buying someone a cow, then they could use the cow, make the milk, sell,
right.
And they could sustain themselves that way versus giving them money. And there was a study on which is better. Mm-hmm. So anyways, I drove in. We came back in 2 cars, and I drove into the house. And our house is a average size house for Lexington, which isn't small. And I walked in there, and Jen was in the kitchen, and I said, that was the craziest thing. We were leaving a 900 square foot house, cottage up in Maine, coming back to this huge house. We have so much, and I just heard this podcast about how do you help people, and we just were talking, and I said this is a great process that we're on. Anyways, we got a call that day at 4 o'clock. From DCF saying there was a child who needed emergency placement. She actually was in the car with the DCF worker, social worker, with her bag, and I'll talk about that in a second maybe as well, with her trash bag of stuff. And
You're just giving me goosebumps because what a situation to be sitting in a car with.
And she was emergently needs a placement. This was a second placement. She just was removed again from her family's. Her biological mother's home.
How old was she at the time?
She was 2. And she needed a second placement because the prior foster family couldn't take her. They actually were moving, and they would take her back. But can we take her? They gave me the quick rundown, and I basically bumbled on the phone and said, "Can I call you back?" So I talked to Jen, and Jen said, "Sure." At like 4:20, and at 5 o'clock, as we were scrambling to get a house ready for a 2-year-old. Which, again, we had older girls. We didn't have a crib. We didn't have outlet covers. We didn't have stuffed animals. Jocelyn, my middle one, was running around the house trying to go in the attic, get stuff down. All of a sudden, Jocelyn says, "There's a car in the driveway," and the doorbell rings. And about 20 minutes later, Madison's in our house. And
that is fast.
Yeah, because they needed somewhere for her to go. And she was on our couch with the social worker, telling us, about her quickly what we could do if she was having, to call her if there's a problem that night. If she was scared or crying. And I said to her, honestly, if I call you tonight, what will you do? She goes, I'm not sure. So I was like, thank you, and then she left. And of course, immediately you fall in love with this young lady who didn't speak at that point. She was delayed verbally, and this was this was a Monday night when this happened, and as you know, Mondays are my day off. That's why I'm here now.
I actually didn't even know that.
Tuesdays, they were my day off, and Tuesdays I work, and so she came in at 5 o'clock. And we just got her situated, and of course, in the morning I said, Jen, bye, I'm going to work. So Jen had Madison home with her and Jocelyn, and then the story from there, I'll just skip, fast forward. But after her being with us for a few months, the social worker asked us if we would be willing to adopt her because she had nowhere to go, no family was stepping up to take her, and if it worked out, would we take her into our home? And we of course said yes. And about a year from the first day she came in, we adopted her. So our life changed at that moment, and as you're getting the gist from me, I think our life has been pretty good, with the girls and Jen and our just everything that we've done. But I didn't realize how great it could be until Madison came into our life. And I think of it like that, those rockets. They shoot up the rocket, and the rocket blasts off to into orbit or into the atmosphere. But then the second stage throws it further. The second booster engine, and that's what Madison was for us. She was that second booster engine, and she made our lives, which were amazing, even better. And
look what you gave to that. I mean, I'm just picturing like a 2-year-old sitting in a car, like not having a place to go when there's stuff in a trash bag. That's an awful visual.
Well, this is the side. I mean, DCF does a lot of great work, and they are, as with what's going on now in society with higher drug use, opioid epidemic. They're even working harder, and it's Madison's one girl that we helped. And I really wish that she could have stayed with her biological mother, but it was an unsafe and unhealthy environment. And she's just one girl that's been helped, and there's so many out there that need help, and that aren't going to get it. And this is, so RFK, Children Action Corps, does amazing work for these kids. And the Wonderfund gets in really on the ground level. Like they're giving kids, they're able to give kids, more than a trash bag, something to carry those clothes in, new toys, gifts for the holidays, educational supplies, books, to make them feel normal. It's Madison gets to celebrate, Hanukkah with us, gets a lot of gifts then. She also gets to celebrate Christmas with her grandparents, and gets gifts from them. It's a lot of gifts. Some of these kids don't get any gifts, and that's what the Wonderfund does.
It sounds like that's what you're doing too, because I want to segue into Maddie's mission. You say how much she's a gift to I feel the gifts are mutual in what she's given to you and what you've given to her. You gave her this life, and
she gave us so much too. And it's what she's given us as parents, her older sisters as older sisters, as perspective and mutual love and just awesomeness. She's this great kid, but she's made everything in our life better. She's that spice to your food that makes that food taste even better. So yeah, just one step further. One other thing that we could do, Jen and I said, let's start a nonprofit.
Keep going.
Let's just keep it going. So we started a nonprofit organization called Maddie's Mission. We started it 3 years ago, and we're having our third event actually this February 29th in Lexington, and we raise funds to give to the RFK Children Action Corps and the Wonderfund. Basically, any money that we have raised, we give to them. because we got so much from them. And they support, RFK supports Bright Futures as well. And the past few years, a representative from RFK Children Action Corps, from Bright Futures, from the Wonderfund has come to the event, and as well as they'll be there this year too. And we just enjoy giving back because we're lucky. We are real lucky, and we want other kids to have, to be able to get what Madison got. Mm-hmm. And that's what these communities can bring. We are in great communities, and there's so many things. Now that we started Maddie's Mission, so many people have said to me, I've always wanted to do that. I've always wanted to foster. I've always wanted to do that. And that's what you can find out, especially from our event, about what you can do. You don't have to foster. You don't have to adopt. I mean, our situation was awesome, but and unique in different ways. But there are different things you can do. You can foster. You can do respite fostering, where you can take a child just for a weekend, where for the foster family can go away. You can donate your time, of course, your money, to different organizations. So yeah, and it's really great for us to be able to, we're paying it forward, Mm-hmm. And as my daughters have said, they went to Lexington High School, my two older daughters, Hannah and Jocelyn, and then they went to Skidmore College, and they said, we grew up in a bubble inside a bubble. We are very lucky to be where we are in Lexington, Bedford area. This area is amazing for education, for safety, for what it has to offer. And they get it. Like we all can do more, and we're one of many families in this area that do a lot for people. It's amazing to me what I've learned. My eyes have been open to so many other people like ourselves, like yourself, who do things for the community, who are part of nonprofits, who raise money. I mean, there's so I could go on. So we're just a small piece. I'm not trying to be overly humble, but this is just what we all do, right? We all try to give our kids happy and healthy and safe homes. And we all, hopefully are productive parts of people of society, and we want to help others. So that's what we're doing. So
your event's coming up on the 29th?
29th. It's being held at the Scottish Rite Museum in Lexington, and that's on Merritt Road, and it's at 6 o'clock on Saturday night till 10:30, and we have it's food, entertainment, silent auction. It's a fun time. One of our favorite things about the night, besides raising money for a great causes, is seeing our friends. Seeing friends from the community, from who were just from there. A couple years ago, friends from our high school from Auburn came. Mm-hmm. Friends from college, but a lot of community people come, and it's just a great time for us to be with people and to socialize and reminisce and talk about the past and the future, and hopefully help the future of other kids.
And you've got a lot of companies. I mean, I took a look at maddiesmission.com, so you can take a look there too to get more information about the event and what you guys are about. You have a lot of people that are, like companies and people that are donating things for the auction. And yeah. I know that's hard to come by sometimes, so it shows you how much you have all the support of the community around you, which is fantastic.
It's crazy. It's crazy. It's humbling, but again, it's and we don't take it for granted. It's just some great people, but it's great people in this community. People just love to help, love to do, and I think if people just like to be involved and ask and to be asked and to help out. Mm-hmm.
So two things. I want to be respectful of your time because I know you have to ship on over there, but and I'm going to redirect instead of reading all this stuff to you. I might just give this to you to look through, but I'm actually going to quote these and put them up on. Neighbors to Know is on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter, so I'm actually just going to post these up there and tag you on them to make you even more humble and your cheeks even more red. And I'll have you read this. These are all things that people had written about you, and I
feel like it should be like when you retire, there's like a retirement party or a toast or a roast or something. We should wait till.
Oh, these are not roasty.
Wait till then.
These aren't roasty at all. I don't really have much ammo to roast you with at all.
You can ask Dan Brosco; he'll give you some.
That's true. I could do that, and I did ask him, but he'll get back to me. And I also do Kindness Rocks for. Do you know about the Kindness Rocks program? So, so I was trying to think of words that like pop up when I think about you, and trust, absolutely, integrity, doing things the way they're meant to be done, how they're meant to be done. So when people will feel whole and complete after, whether it's doctor, patients, community, whatever. And unity, which is your family, which is bringing Maddie into your family to make your family bigger. And just you in our, in our society of what you're bringing together people and groups and people you don't even know through what you're doing with Maddie's mission. So that's for you.
This is huge. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I am incredibly, I will always be incredibly
I gladly
thankful.
accept this honor. Thank you.
It's your Oscar.
This is great.
It's your blue Oscar.
This means the world. Thank you very much.
So there's my teaser, but thank you so much. And we'll have to come on and have some, lighthearted, jokey, make fun of Dan Broskell episode.
Happy to do it again. You have another chat. We can have.
Oh, that's true. I can interview the two of you and have you.
That'd be a fun time.
Great idea.
Yeah. Book
All
it.
right.
Book, as Dan says, book it.
Book it. Yeah. Okay. All right. Great idea. So. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. This is great.
And you could also catch Dave Geller on anchoring the news sometimes on Bedford TV. And again, take a look at Neighbors to Know on Facebook and on Instagram and on Twitter, and you can read these things about him too, and share stuff yourself about what you know about Dave and what he's meant to you, and that will be our way of paying it forward for all the stuff that he's done for us. Valentine's Day is coming up, so I would be remiss if I didn't say Happy Valentine's Day to all of you. Love yourselves so that you walk away with ease in who you are, and we will see you next time. Bye, everyone.